The ride receipt landed at 2:19 a.m. The destination listed wasn't home. I'm not jealous of bodies, I'm jealous of addresses. Bodies tell the truth if you stop staging them. Addresses decide which truths arrive with proof. At 2:19 a.m., my inbox chimed with the cheerful cruelty only apps have perfected. Ride complete passenger. Nathan drop-off. Lantern Suites, 7th floor entrance. The map thumbnail glowed like a wound pretending to be neon. My thumb hovered on the screen as if holding still could rephrase the sentence. It didn't. The blue line curled toward a building we'd walked past before. One of those boutique hotels with curtains that act like accomplices. Nathan had texted at 10:44, "Board wants one more drink. Don't wait up." He's good at the parts of theater that aren't on stage, coaxing donors into thinking generosity is choreography, convincing colleagues that applause has a shelf life. At 7:05, I'd filmed the coffee because ritual is cheaper than religion and keeps better hours. I captioned it here. He reacted with the thumbs up he saves for nights that plan to rename themselves. The receipt didn't rename anything, it confessed. The apartment had the posture rooms get when they've practiced a lie. The radiator sighed like an amateur choir. The long mirror in the hall rehearsed being innocent. I boiled water because water doesn't audition. It turns into heat and dares you to do better. When the kettle sang, the sound was too honest. I left the cup untouched. At 3:11, the lock cleared its throat. Nathan stepped in with his jacket folded over his arm and his shoes hooked by two fingers like witnesses too tired to lie. He smelled like lime and a decision that wanted to believe it was weather. He kissed the air near my cheek, our administrative truce, and then saw the receipt glowing on the counter like a spotlight that had learned cruelty. "You're up," he said, as if etiquette had mailed me a warning. "The Lantern Suites knows your name," I said. "It told me the hour you arrived." His pupils turned into clocks, the dilation that arrives just before a man chooses a verb. He set the shoes down as if they were excuses and put both palms on the table the way our therapist taught us when we needed to give words somewhere to land. The gesture is either dignity or triage. "Which question?" he asked. "Why or who?" "Why," I said, "because Matt, my emergency adult, kicks me under imaginary tables when I lead with names. If I start with who, the map writes our minutes." Nathan looked at the patch of wall where the paint keeps wanting to retire without ceremony. "Because the scene wouldn't land," he said. "Because donors clapped in the wrong places and then demanded to be forgiven with gin. Because the bar got loud where my head got quiet. Because Adrian, yes, said his room upstairs had air that didn't heckle. Because he said the sheets made men remember verbs they'd misplaced. Because I believed him long enough to ride there." "Did you kiss him?" I asked, breaking Matt's superstition like a boy with a stick and a fence. "In the lobby," he said. "Once, small, honest, wrong." He pressed his hand to my chest and said I deserved safety. "I thought about your hand doing the same thing. I came home." "I hate how sane that sounds," I said. "The sentence I keep for mercy that arrives before I can match its tone." We didn't sleep. We did something more humiliating and useful. We agreed to walk into daylight and ask it to be merciful. At noon, the Lantern Suites pretended its glass was forgiveness. The clerk behind the counter had a smile built to survive litigation. She handed Nathan a folded receipt before we asked. "Room 708, reserved, then canceled, minibar untouched, late checkout declined." Beside his name, a second line, guest, Adrian K. Adrian himself appeared near the elevators, posture precise, a paper cup steaming in his hand. He saw us both and didn't pretend surprise, my favorite trick in men who owe a room honesty. "I was coming to apologize," he said. "To you both, and to whatever part of this building thinks sheets are sermons. He loves you," he added, nodding at Nathan. I like being near that. I'm sorry my mouth uses the same grammar as desire. You don't get to call it ours, I said, because cleverness is my superstition and I tithe when I'm anxious. Rehearsal is a room, a kiss is a scene, a receipt is a signature. You don't get to be the verb in our kitchen. Adrian lifted his free hand the way a man surrenders a weapon he already regrets. Then let me be the line item, he said, and stepped back into anonymity. At home, I moved the kitchen chair into the middle of the floor because procedures save men when gods won't. Nathan smiled like a man relieved to be caught kindly. He came around the table and paused, always that pause, his most decent habit. I met him halfway. The first kiss was apology without speeches. The second had his fingers under my shirt and my hand at the back of his neck, the place he keeps for oaths and sleep. We didn't conduct a ceremony. We used heat as a system. If I could map the rest without being evicted by a platform that prefers virtue louder than accuracy, I would. Keep the inventory, one breath belonging to both of us, a belt resigning with grace, a wrist held with permission and not claim. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. City prefers quizzes. 2 nights later, the hotel's social posted a carousel at 1:41 a.m. Hand saw light in the mirror outside 708, 4 bodies if you counted reflections. Nathan washing his hands, head down. Adrian behind him, tie loosened. A stranger with a suitcase. Me in the doorway because someone had tagged my name as if helpful were a synonym for harmless. The caption said boys being brave. Comments declared certainty. I typed nothing. I set the phone face down. I moved the chair until silence remembered its duties. Nathan came home and handed me his phone without instructions. Delete or archive, he said. I don't want new grammar. You don't need me to erase your verbs, I said, and he rested his forehead against mine like a paperweight on a better draft. 3 days later, the email arrived with fonts that have never had to apologize to a kitchen. Residency, 7 days, quiet rooms, kind windows. Nathan forwarded the PDF with every map attached, which is how you know a man has learned where courage keeps its receipts. I want to go without disappearing, he wrote. I'll send pages, not alibis. When I get back, ask me what I wrote before what I did. I taped 2 lines under the lemon magnet because props still save us when God is off shift. Addresses in the open. A good night here voice note every day. He added a third in his careful mess. If an I can't is coming, it happens where both of us are. Night 1, wind and a sentence I decided to believe. Today the table forgave me. Night 3, nothing, and my thumb became the worst teenager in the world. I opened the ride receipt again, stared at the blue line bending where it shouldn't, then archived it. I moved the chair instead. At 8:12, he called with a voice that made the kettle think there might be a God. I almost kissed a window, he said. It didn't know your name. I closed the blinds. He came back with a suitcase that didn't slam and 2 pages he treated like animals. They're not good, he said. They're mine, I said, and we performed our small religion. Paper, kettle, a room that knows it isn't a lobby. He slid his hands under my shirt from behind, slower than contrition, faster than nostalgia. Here, he said into the bend of my neck, the only word left that has never demanded witnesses. We tried boring. We failed gracefully. We tried again. Adrian learned to stand at the back of the house with his arms crossed like a man paying the bill he owes himself. He clapped exactly once after the intimacy rehearsal and didn't text. For a week, the hotel's glass stayed in its lane. But tests return the way weather does. At 12:27 a.m., my phone lit with a new itinerary. Ride confirmed passenger. Adrian shared with Nathan, pickup, Lantern Suites, drop-off, Westside Theater. I stared until the letters remembered they were only pixels. I moved the chair. At 1:06, the lock cleared its throat. Nathan came in with rain in his hair and a sentence ready. I walked him to the car, he said. He wanted me to come to rehearsal. I told him rehearsal is a noun I can borrow anymore. He kissed the air good night. I kissed the deny button good decision. Do you want to hate me now or later? I prefer now. I like the way you come back from it. I'm tired of coming back, I said. I want to stay. He nodded and blocked Adrian's name with his thumb, not as spectacle but like a man returning a key to the right hook. He touched my jaw with 2 fingers, the intimacy director's sacrament, repurposed for domestic faith, and for once the gesture belonged exactly where it landed. We went to bed without staging forgiveness. We used our mouths the way men do who still prefer heat to cleverness. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. Weeks alter even honest bruises. Lantern Suites kept mailing us offers for rose petals and champagne. I filtered them into a folder named Weather. The city kept making rooms that want to pronounce us. I kept the kettle and the chair we move when words try to riot. On a Tuesday, the residency house mailed a postcard, charcoal sketch of a window, caption scrawled in Nathan's careful mess. Ask me what I wrote before what I did. Don't let a receipt learn our grammar. I pinned it under the lemon magnet like a clause we intended to honor. The last test was stupid. At 12:18 a.m., a push notification arrived. Special offer Lantern Suites loyalty romantic escape for 2. The button glowed like a dare. I stared until my thumb remembered it could choose decline. When Nathan came home, he set his keys down gently, like they were nouns begging not to be verbs anymore. I told them no, he said. I told myself the same. Tomorrow we'll try again. Apps will disguise confessions as receipts. Donors will clap in the wrong places. Adrian will exist where he exists, a person, not a villain. But when Nathan says here, my body has stopped auditioning for suspicion. If another night offers me a blue line bending where it shouldn't, or a folio with my points in someone else's room, I hope I remember the handful of humiliating, useful acts that got us through this one. Put water on. Move the chair when words try to riot. Ask why before who. Hold the breath before contact and let it finish being the scene. Then wait for the lock's small throat clearing like it's the first note in a song we can still tune to. We didn't get away with anything. We stayed. We are still staying. The lantern can keep its glass. The river can keep its absolutions. The lobby can keep its velvet. We'll keep being the address. Or, on the nights we can't, the map that admits its misprints and still shows the way back. Past the revolving door that thinks it's a verb, past the elevator's red dot that loves its own memory, into a kitchen where a chair knows what it's for, a kettle keeps its 7:05 appointment, and 2 hands that have done worse learn again how to touch without asking the night to edit.